Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to see what is a namespace in Kubernetes, and we'll also see the different ways to create a namespace in Kubernetes cluster along with the demo. So let's get started. So the entire gray box that you are seeing here, let's assume this as a Kubernetes cluster, and you have development workloads and the production workloads. If you want to deploy both the development workloads and the production workloads in the same Kubernetes cluster, then you can create development namespace and the production namespace. So here you can see the box here. This is a development namespace and the box here is the production namespace. And then you can deploy the development workloads in the development namespace and the production workloads in the production namespace. So in this way, using a Kubernetes namespaces, you can isolate and organize your workloads in Kubernetes cluster. Now let's go ahead with the demo part and create namespaces in the Kubernetes cluster. I am in the Azure shell and I have created Azure Kubernetes cluster in Azure for this demo part. I have already logged in to the cluster. So before creating a namespace in Kubernetes, let's see what are the different namespaces we get by default when we create a Kubernetes cluster. So for that, let's type kubectl get namespaces. So this command basically will fetch all the namespaces that are created in the Kubernetes cluster. So here you see we have 4 namespaces that are available, and you get these 4 namespaces by default when you create a Kubernetes cluster. So now let's go ahead and create a namespace. So basically we can create a namespace in Kubernetes using 2 ways. One is using the manifest files and the other way is using the imperative commands. So let's look both the ways. First, let's see how we can create using the manifest files. So for that, I have already created a file called namespace.yaml. So let's cat this namespace.yaml file and see the content. So here you can see we have around 4 lines. So this is the API version v1 that we are going to use for creating a namespace. And the kind here, you can see this is the namespace that we are going to create. And in the metadata section, you can see the name. So here I'm going to create a namespace called dev-ns. So let's run kubectl apply command and specify this YAML file so that dev-ns namespace will be created. So let's run kubectl apply -f and the name of the file namespace.yaml. So here -f means the file that we are going to pass as a parameter. So we are passing the namespace.yaml for creating the namespace. So let's click on enter. So you can see the namespace dev-ns is created. So now let's list the available namespaces in this cluster. So kubectl get namespaces. Sorry. So you can see dev-ns namespace now. So in this way, you can create a namespace using the manifest files. Now let's go ahead and see how we can create a namespace using the imperative commands. So the command that we are going to use for creating the namespace is kubectl create namespace, and then we have to give the name of our namespace. So let's give prod-ns and let's click enter. So you can see the namespace prod-ns is created. So now let's list the available namespaces in our Kubernetes cluster. kubectl get namespaces. So here you can see the prod-ns namespace has been created. So in this way, using either the manifest files or the imperative commands, you can create different namespace based on your requirement in the Kubernetes cluster.